All right, guys, welcome. It is time for the Monday webinar. We've got so much great stuff to talk about. For any first-time visitors and for anybody else that may not be first-time visitors, remember, this is where we talk about all the great things that I see coming up this week. So what I discuss today will be updated daily. So every single day I do one of these sessions. I just only make one public to everybody, free and open to everyone, and that's on Monday. But we do them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and it updates everything that we're looking at. Some of these big setups, some of these big moves, these big runs. And of course, we always speckle in there some medium-term trades. We're definitely going to discuss a few 3 and 4 and 5 and 800 pip trades that are coming, but we're also going to discuss for those that are able to access the webinar tomorrow and the day after and so on, we'll look at a couple of shorter term trades as well. Now, not short term trades, let me clarify, they're shorter term trades to what we're looking at, meaning things with 1 and 200 pip profit targets, because sometimes these big 6 and 800 pip trades take a little while to set up, and there's some good opportunities to make 100 or 200 pips in the middle, and so we will be looking at those. But what I want to discuss today is more of the longer term stuff, some of these big setups that we're looking for and trying to get a little piece of, or a big piece of. So we'll talk about that, and then like I said, as the week goes on, for members of the group, we will discuss those specific entries when they finally get here, and we'll look at those kind of shorter term, 1 and 200 pip profit targets as well. So that's kind of where we'll be going. Just a reminder for anybody that would like to see how we do it for the rest of the week, you can get a free trial right here at daytradersfx.com. We have 2 memberships. One is just website access only, and you get access to trades and notes that are posted on the website, and you can get access to recorded daily wrap-up webinars like these. And the other one includes all of that plus the live trade room. And the live trade room is where so much happens. So go to that link. You can click on Start Now and get a 5-day free trial up and running. We'd love to have you with us. And just a reminder, one thing that I added last week, or even the week before, I can't remember now, I think it was last week, was some one-on-one coaching sessions, which are these guys right here. Now, I got a pretty optimistic response to those, and in fact, by optimistic, I mean almost too many people responded, so and did schedule sessions, so I don't want to fill up too much because that's going to severely cut into my surfing schedule. So that link may or may not be taken down in the next day or two. And it'll become live again somewhere in the future after I clear up the schedule again. But if you would like to get in on some of these one-on-one sessions, you can do so by clicking on the link there and buying individual sessions or multiple sessions or whatever the case may be. But again, and I'm not trying to sales pitch anyone like there's a limited time to buy, but there is, because simply it takes a lot of my time, and I don't want to do that 12 hours a day. Even though I love talking to you guys a ton, but anyway, got to keep that surf schedule open. Okay, so that's all of that stuff. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty, and that is going to start off a little bit with the calendar that we have this week. Now, here's one little thing I didn't know. I know we have plenty of Canadians in here, and we got lots of those from the U.S. in here as well. And it looks like both of us, both countries, have daylight savings at the end of this week. That kind of snuck up on me, or I don't know, maybe I thought it. I never can keep track of when the time switch happens. So, anyways, that'll be important to know. That'll change a lot of details on schedule stuff. I mean, it won't change anything. We'll still have our things all at the same times, but with daylight savings, I know some countries, it just takes everyone a while to kind of switch over. And anyway, I'll just make sure to remind everybody on that. But that is going to be something fantastic. What do we do on daylight savings? Are we going back on this one, or are we going forward? Basically, am I going to lose an hour of sleep, or am I gaining an hour? I can't ever keep track of that either. But hopefully I gain an hour of sleep, because that would be amazing. All right, okay, spring forward. All right, we're heading forward. Hey, Ray, nice to see you. And Shirley, springing forward. So that means I do get an hour. Oh, that is great. Oh man, that's such good news. I can't even hardly stand it. That's excellent. I love the spring forward stuff, by the way, because it stays light later, and that's excellent. So that's coming up. I'll make sure to keep everyone kind of updated on that. Here are some things that we have got on the calendar today, or excuse me, this week. This whole week is going to be just chock full. I mean, there is a ridiculous amount of news announcements this week. Starting with today. So today we see building approvals for Australia, which is a little bit of a mover. That's like their housing starts. You know, how many houses are getting contracted to be built, and buildings and so on. So that's semi-important. But that will pale in comparison to what's going to happen a couple of hours after that, which is the Aussie interest rate decision and announcement, and the RBA rate statement, which will follow that. So first off, it's 7:30 p.m. chat time in just about about 3 hours, a little more than 3 hours. The rate statement will happen, or excuse me, the actual interest rate will be released, and then they'll have a rate statement right after that. And that's going to be a huge deal. And the reason that I want to make sure to point that out is, number one, it's important to know. Number two, we have some very fantastical Aussie trades we're looking at. So that's going to be something to look at. So that's coming up today. Huge deal. I'm going to peek into the chat. I'll peek into the live trade room here and just kind of see how things go, because we're going to talk about a couple Aussie trades, and this could get those started. So I'm pretty excited about that. Coming into Tuesday. Tuesday is not a huge day. Construction PMI for the UK, and then we have GDP for Australia. GDPs are definitely one to keep an eye on, but nothing too much. Morning, early day. Might be kind of quiet. But then we just follow things up like crazy on Wednesday. Services PMI from the UK, ADP numbers for the US. We have interest rate announcements for Canada, ISM for the US, and then we follow that up in the afternoon with retail sales and trade balance for Australia. So basically Wednesday is going to be a buckle your seatbelt, because stuff's about to get serious. And so that's a huge day. Thursday, same thing. Big day on Thursday. We have interest rates for the UK. We have interest rates for Europe. We have we'll have a statement out of the UK. We'll have press conference, ECB press conference. That's always just ridiculously wild. So count on that coming. And then we have more Australia news and some Canadian news. And then Friday we have non-farm payroll in the US. And we have employment numbers for Canada and trade balance for Canada. And trade balance for the U.S. as well. Good grief. So anyways, needless to say, we have like a bazillion news announcements coming out this week, which means that the markets are going to be moving a lot. Sometimes when there's a ton of news every single day like we see this week, it gets wild and crazy. So that's where the big, longer-term setups will be so important to keep an eye on, because the short-term stuff can get kind of crazy. Now, there will be some very tradable news announcements this week, which is good news. But the short-term stuff can get a little bit crazy when there's this much news on the schedule. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on. So we've got to kind of watch the slightly longer-term picture. I am going to spend about 1 second on this euro dollar and say that we have a missed, or well, not missed, we have an existing current monthly pivot at 13700, which is 35 pips away. Does anybody have any questions about anything euro dollar? Because that is seriously all I have to say about that pair. There's nothing I'm trading on euro dollar, and there probably won't be for a little while. We did keep an eye on the euro dollar. We had a great little bull flag, and we talked about this on our last wrap-up session. We had a great little bull flag. We talked about that on Thursday, and it broke out and went totally nuts. And that was awesome. That was great. That was kind of the one trading opportunity that I think the euro has given us in the last little while, because the rest of it is just a bunch of chop and a bunch of craziness. But that bull flag, I hope you guys made some money on that. Those that are members of the group, we did cover that, and it did make a nice little move there. So that was excellent. But now, as we are getting started here, coming into this wonderful, fantastic, excellent week, the pound dollar is giving us some interesting little things that I've talked about the pound dollar so much, and I've said a few interesting details. And that is that I want to see the pound dollar break and head a little bit higher. Why do I have this line here? I don't totally remember. I don't think I care about it too much. There we go. So I've said that the pound dollar, I think, is headed higher. And as soon as it makes just one more break higher, then I'm going to start shorting it, because we have so many missed daily, weekly, and monthly pivots down here, and we haven't touched the 200 moving average in a pretty good while. So that's why I've said I just need to get one more break higher. And the reason I wanted to get one more break higher is because we've had this kind of daily bull flag that's just lurking. This thing is saying to us there's probably going to be a breakout and there's probably going to be a push higher. So here are my two scenarios. Number one, we still do have this bull flag, and in fact it looks better now than it did. So this nice run up and then this consolidation. So as long as we stay above, I'm just going to go ahead and preface this already. As long as we stay above 165.80, then I'm going to stay semi-medium term bullish on the pound dollar. If we stay above 165.80, and that is so far the low of the flag area of this bull flag. So that's this guy right there. If we stay above that, then I think we're good to go. But it still is solid. It's still holding in here. And this bull flag, we have this nice move up and this consolidation. I'm on the daily chart here. And so what we expect a bull flag to do is basically we take this distance right here, which is about 570 pips of this bull flag. We take that distance and we project it into the future. And so we say, okay, so far the low right here is about 165.80 or so. So that means we're expecting the market to go above 165.80 by about 500 pips, potentially. So that could absolutely be a situation to keep an eye on. That gets us right up into about 170, and so 170 could still be coming on the pound dollar. So just to kind of get that out of the way, if we get above this little area right here, a safe bull flag entry would be, let's trade this break. Let's let a 4-hour candle open above 167.65 area, and let's get long and just trade the heck out of this thing up into 170. So that's a good possibility. But here is one thing that I am kind of watching and I'm curious about, because the price action is telling us that yes, there still is a bull flag and this could continue higher, but for some reason the market just doesn't want to go higher, and it's consolidated and it made a spike and then it failed and it's consolidating again. So we've made a lower high, and everything's kind of starting to sputter out. So my second case scenario is, number one, I'm long either at a bounce of 165.80 or I'm long at a break of 167.65. Either one of those could be good opportunities to be long pound dollar and trade it up into that 170 area. I think 170 is a very real possibility. But it doesn't change the fact that we did have this nice little spike down right here, and this is going to create very likely a nice little a bear flag for us. So just in case the pound dollar just does not want to head any higher, and it's finally ready to turn and head lower, I'm going to sell the break of this little 1-hour bear flag, and I'm just going to lock in profit and hold on to it either for 600 or 700 pips down into 150, down into 158, which I'm not 1,000% confident it's going to reach that from the break of this bear flag. But either way, I'm not going to take any short-term profit. If this thing breaks and goes, I'm just going to lock in and hold on to it until kingdom come, basically. But the thing is I'm going to lock in pretty quickly, because this could be the start of something. I just kind of doubt that it will be. So I'm fully expecting for this to break out, and head down maybe into this 16600, bounce off the monthly pivot, and then head back up. Whatever the case may be, you guys will be totally welcome to take your own profit and take 50 or 60 pips there, which there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely will not be doing that. I'm going to sell the break of this bear flag and just hold on to it and lock in as soon as possible. And of course, I'll notify everybody when I lock in, and in the entry and so on. And just hang on to it, just in case this is the start of the big move down into all of these missed pivots. So this is my first entry attempt at shorting the pound dollar right now. Otherwise, if it breaks above these highs, there's opportunity to get long above 167.65, and we could also see a bounce at 165.80, at which point I would also consider getting long, because we still do have we still do have a bull flag here on the daily chart. So that's my assessment and my analysis on the pound dollar. Feel free to ask any questions on that. Steve, Russian Crimea issue trade caused a drop today. I don't actually know if that caused the pound dollar to drop, but I know that the Russian-Ukrainian situation is getting messy and it's just getting uglier by the second. So I don't know if that had any effect on it, and but it may have. So that's what we're looking for on the pound dollar. So there's a shorter-term trade for anybody that wants to take quick profits on here. Maybe just trade it down to a double bottom or anything here. Like I said, I'm just jumping in at short, and I'm just going to hold on to it, and whatever happens, happens. But we'll also be looking for potential opportunities to get long 165.80 and above 167.65. Okay, Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar is hopping around here. It's doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it's been really just choppy the last month, basically. For about a solid month, the Aussie dollar has been choppy. Now, we know we have interest rates coming out for Australia tonight and an RBA statement. Two very big deals. And so this could finally get the Aussie dollar moving, and a lot of the Aussie pairs that we're looking at. It doesn't change the fact that the Aussie dollar has a very, very nice inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now, if we see a little bit of dollar weakness pushing, which we very well might see happen, then the Aussie dollar is a very attractive trade above 90.85. Now, I know that seems like that's far away because that's about 150 pips away, and it is a little ways up there. But the fact that we have a bull flag on the pound dollar and an inverted head and shoulders on the Aussie dollar tells me that both of these pairs could potentially be headed the same direction. They could be headed up. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a definite, but I think there's a very high probability that this head and shoulders pattern could start going to the upside, and the pound dollar could be headed up along with it as well. And the euro dollar could be headed up too. I have no idea what the euro dollar is up to. So I'm still looking to get long above 90.85. There's some little trend line activity on the Aussie dollar, and you can see, I mean, it just depends where you want to draw your stuff, but you can see that there's a little bit of a falling wedge. If we just look at the last couple of points here, there's a little bit of a falling wedge on this 4-hour chart, and so breaking back up above this stuff could give us a little bit of a sooner entry, and I'm not sure if I'm going to take that one or not, and I very well might take it, and that would put us, somewhere at a break of this 89.50, which could potentially give us a nice long entry up into that 90.85, and then through 90.85 into 92.30/92.50. So again, if this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, then this falling wedge right here could give us that entry above 89.50 into 90.80 and 92.35/92.50 area. So that's what I'm looking for on the Aussie dollar. I don't really have a super great scenario on the sell side, just because I don't. But there will be some news coming out for Australia that will, whether the news is good or bad or sideways, it's probably going to get things going today. And if it doesn't, then the news tomorrow will, or the news the day after, or the day after. Australia's got some big news coming up, so like 3 days this week. So that's what we're looking for. This is an important setup. I hope this is burned into everyone's memory because it's an important one. Inverted head and shoulders pattern, shorter term falling wedge, opportunity to get long above 89.50 Aussie dollar. Okay. I'm still not doing too much. I just haven't, I don't know, I just haven't even spent any time on the yen pairs because I just don't see anything that I love. It's, it's just kind of whatever it is. So if anyone's trading yen pairs, best of luck to you. The only thing that I would say is interesting is on the pound yen, and this could be on other pairs, but I just haven't looked that closely because everything's so messy looking. we have a crazy long wick right here. We have this nice upward movement and then some retracement with a huge price rejection on this weekly candle, and then it's continuing higher. So you can see that demonstrated here in this little dip down. That turned into a huge hammer on the weekly chart. So there's probably going to continue to be buying pressure on Euro Yen, Pound Yen, Aussie Yen pairs. Keep that in mind. Just a quick look at the dollar CAD. I'm not doing a ton with this pair yet, but we do see that that if we start to see a little bit of dollar weakness, which again we may or may not see, I don't know if we're going to see it. That's why I'm just kind of waiting for these setups to happen here. If we do see some dollar weakness, then we could see the Canadian dollar start to rally a little bit against the US dollar. So far we have a bull flag on the pound dollar, an inverted head and shoulders on the Aussie dollar, and then potentially a huge breakout here on the dollar CAD. And so this is a daily chart. If we start to get below about 110.25 area, and we're only at 110.80, so so around 50, 55 pips away, if we start getting below that, we could finally be headed into that missed weekly pivot of 108.20, and that could start some crazy movement even as low as 105.00. Now, I don't know if we're headed all the way down there, and I'm not crazy gung-ho about the dollar CAD just yet, but I think there is some potential as we start to get below 110.25 on dollar CAD. And we could see that 108.20 get hit pretty quick, and that's a 200 pip profit target and probably a fairly easy one for this pair to get down to. So just keep that in mind. I'm watching all of that. I'm keeping an eye on that, and that's what we're looking at. So now that we're on the CAD pair, I'm going to jump over to the CAD Swiss franc. This is a pair that I discussed a little bit last week, and I talked about this with Rob Booker a little bit, and I called this my retirement trade because Rob brought it up, and I haven't really even looked at this pair too much, but it's got such huge potential, it's ridiculous. This is the daily chart, and we have a 200 moving average on the daily chart that hasn't been touched in forever. Also on the 4-hour chart, hasn't been touched in forever. And we have such a cluster of missed daily, weekly, and monthly pivots that I almost can't even wrap my mind around it. And so it's just kind of all this stuff going on right here. We have a falling wedge, and we are starting to get some potential entries coming up here a little bit sooner than later. What I'm looking at is we're starting to see some price rejection. Again, this would trade in the direction of CAD strength. I don't know that we're ready on this one yet. This one could be towards the end of the week, could be a little ways out, but I'm watching for this rising wedge to break, and I'm going to need to see this thing get up above probably 80.25 area, which isn't, again, super far away. We're only at 79.75, so 80.25, even 80.50 to start getting long here. So we could see 50 to 75 pips of movement higher before we start getting excited about this thing running up. But this is going to be a huge potential 1,000 pip trade when we start to break this area. We should be able to get at least 600 pips out of something like this, and again, maybe even 1,000 pips if we see those movements happening. So this one is probably the furthest out from getting there. And so that's where we're gonna have to wait a little bit on this one. Scott, no, this would be Chef. This would be Swiss franc weakness. So since the CAD is on the first one, if we see that movement up, that would be Canadian strength, Swiss franc weakness. And again, with some of the global climate mumbo jumbo, the Swiss franc is definitely a safe haven currency. Always is, always has been. So it might be a little bit hard for something to really rally against the Swiss franc, but because so far we've seen lots of Swiss franc strength against the CAD, which is why we've seen this huge downtrend. And the question is the downtrend coming to a screeching halt yet or not? And so again, above about 80.25 to 80.50, I'm going to really be looking to get long CAD Swiss franc. So that one's looking good. And I'll keep you posted on that. That's a huge long-term trade that might take a little while to get there. Okay, the two last but not least, Euro Aussie. Just a quick update on this one. I've talked about this a whole bunch. I just want to update here. Euro Aussie spiked up pretty nicely we had this nice little move up, and then it's retraced a bunch. We came just pips from missing that 155.12 missed weekly pivot. I think we had a high here of just about 155.00. We missed it by 12 or 13 pips. And so that's kind of one that we're keeping an eye on there. But Euro Aussie is looking good. We still have kind of a rising wedge. Now it is starting to turn a little bit. It's getting a little bit channel-y looking, but it's still a rising wedge and it's narrowing. And the reason this is interesting is because this is still a perfect right shoulder of our head and shoulders pattern. Now to break the neckline, we're going to have to do something a little bit like this to break this Euro Aussie neckline. So we're going to have to get through that one right there. So that puts us, at the break of about 150 to really confirm that huge head and shoulders pattern. And when that 150 gives way, 142 should be a pretty easy target for this one to reach. And so there's a huge move there. There's huge potential. But what we want to look at is if this is the right shoulder and this is a rising wedge and this, this weekly pivot didn't quite get taken out, then we could have a really great opportunity to get in even sooner at the break of about 153.00. So that's only about 80 pips away. Break out of that rising wedge and we can start really targeting that downward movement. But we need to get below about 153.00. Below that we could target 150, and then through 150 we can target 146, 142, a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of targets there. One thing that's not super uncommon though is to break out of a rising wedge or any kind of a channel and come back and test that channel. And so we could see that happen. We could see this Euro Aussie come and test this channel even as high as 156, 156, 157.00. We could easily see something like that happen. So that is going to be something to keep a very, very close eye on and watch and make sure that if that does happen, then we'll kind of reassess our situation. But if we start breaking out of this rising wedge right here, then again, below about 153.00, we should be able to target 150 and then 146 and 142 and so on. So big, huge trade in the works there. This is all going to be very dependent upon some of the news coming up because the pound Aussie has an almost identical setup, except for the fact that our right shoulder has poked up a little bit more here, and we've also just barely missed a weekly pivot on the pound Aussie. And so you can see that the weekly pivot's here at 88.26, and we have a high of, what's that high? 88.23. We have another one there, 88.25. So we missed it by 1 pip, which is ridiculous, but we did. And so this goes in line. Remember we talked about this bull flag right here and that this thing just kind of kept bouncing around, but it finally did make the run, and so it gave us the price projection we were looking for. Here's our flagpole, about 500 pips. Here's the low and the move up, about 430 or 40 pips. So it completed this bull flag pattern. So now I'm looking at the same thing on the pound Aussie, which is a rising wedge. And if this starts breaking below and out of that rising wedge, then I think we're going to have some pretty good opportunities. This one's going to be a little choppy and crazy, and so I don't have that perfect sell entry lined up just yet. Probably below about 185.50. So a little less than 100 pips below, we could start looking for opportunities to short this thing. That would get us out of this rising wedge, below about 185.50. But this is going to take some updating, and we're going to really need to follow this one going into the week. And make sure that we catch this. But remember, we have a lot of Aussie news coming, and that can get, that could break this high so super easily, and it could break this little rising wedge so super easily. So this one below 185.50 and even below 184.00, we're targeting things like 178.50 and 175.00 and 170, and we have huge profit targets. So we're looking at like 12 and 1300 pip profit targets on this pound Aussie, and we're looking at pretty close to the same, anywhere from 700 to 1,000 pips on the Euro Aussie. So pound Aussie, over 1,000 pips. Euro Aussie just under 1,000 pips on profit targets, and those are looking great. So we have some really, really excellent setups. I'm super excited about them. And I think we're going to make a kind of ridiculous amount of money on these setups as they happen. Now, I will watch some shorter term trades here and kind of entertain some of those on these big moves as they start to develop. But overall, that's kind of my long term look, and that's kind of what I'm going to be keeping an eye on. So focus on pound dollar bull flag for the moment, and looking for opportunities to short that one. And we have a little short-term bear flag right here as well. So remember, there's just that little guy poking around. Aussie dollar inverted head and shoulders pattern, and here we are already breaking out of our rising wedge. We have dollar CAD potentially could give us a sell-off, but that one's a little bit on the back burner. Big potential sell-offs on Euro Aussie, big potential sell-off on Pound Aussie. And CAD Swiss franc is lurking in the background as well. So I'm keeping an eye on those several pairs, and I think there's going to be some super excellent opportunities coming up on those. So I can't wait, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting, very, very excellent, and I hope you guys can join us for some of the action. Again, remember, if you'd like to see some of the updates, as the week goes on and so on, you can get access to the website at daytradersfx.com. You can get a free trial, and you can join us for these daily updates that happen Monday through Thursday, and our live trading sessions that we also have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Okay, guys, questions, comments, let me know. I'm going to get this recording posted and going, and that's kind of where we're going to take it. Thanks a million for joining us. I'll take any questions, any comments you guys have, and this recording will be posted in here. It will also be posted on Twitter, and I will email out the link as well, just this Monday one, because it's open to everybody. So thanks a million, guys. Great to have you with us. Thank you, Ray, and thanks everybody. We'll see you all very soon.